You're bombarded with information your entire life about what you should and should not do with your money. One of the cornerstones of what you're told is you should always put it into a 401k. A lot of people don't question this. After all, it's what you've always been told. It's what your coworkers are doing. It's what your neighbor's doing. It's what your advisor's telling you to do. But after this 40-year failed experiment, there is incredible evidence that tells us not to put our money into these retirement accounts. They're not investments. They're just financial vehicles. And they help you to get from where you are today to a retirement. And along that journey, you've got to recognize what they do to your money and how they treat your money. Now, I want to take a few moments today to talk conceptually about what a 401k does to your money. And then I'm going to share with you the math behind these accounts and show you why they're a terrible financial vehicle for retirement, and why you should not rely on them. And you can include 403bs and IRAs into this group as well. So there are a lot of reasons why 401ks are a bad idea, including the fact that they're a tax trap. You surrender control of your money, and you let someone else dictate what you can and cannot invest in. There's no liquidity. You don't have access to your money until you're 59 and a half. You've got no cash flow for better options. You don't receive income distributions on your investment, and you don't benefit from them during the most expensive period of your life. The value of your 401k can plummet, and it can take years to recover. And while it's taking years to recover, inflation is killing it, Wall Street's getting paid, and you're losing opportunity. And when the market is declining, you don't have the option to reallocate your money to investments of your choice, so you have better chance of controlling your losses. And do you really trust Wall Street? When I ask people that, I've never had anybody tell me yes. When you put your money into these accounts, you're trusting it to a fund administrator on Wall Street that gets paid for collecting fees. Do you really think they're placing your financial interest first? No. You're going to be charged between 1% and 3% annually. And this is going to steal at least a third of your money, and you get no benefits from these fees. And don't forget about inflation. Inflation is going to erode another 2 to 3% of your gains every single year. Until you reach a return of at least 6%, you haven't made any progress beyond paying your management fees. You don't build wealth or financial freedom by locking up your money for decades and letting someone else use your money. Cash flow, control, leverage, reducing taxes. These are ways you create financial freedom. So you've been sold on the idea that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement. Now, unless you plan on retiring poor, this is probably not true. Inflation alone is likely to keep you in the same or a higher tax bracket. We're in one of the lowest tax brackets in history. The government continues to spend money we don't have. Medicare and Social Security are running out of money. The national debt is over $36 trillion and climbing. How's the government going to solve this problem? The government has three options. They can cut spending. Yeah, when does that ever happen? They can increase taxes, or they can keep printing money and destroy your wealth through inflation. And the low-hanging fruit is the money sitting inside these accounts. Your money inside these accounts is taxed at the highest rate when you take it out, and it's a sitting duck for tax increases because the government has a permanent tax lien against this money. You have no idea how much that tax lien is going to be. There's absolutely nothing you can do to reduce your taxes as long as your money sits in these accounts. At today's tax rates, 25 to 35% of the money in your retirement plan is an IOU to the IRAs. How's that going to impact your retirement when taxes increase? You really want to gamble with your retirement tax rate when current rates are among the lowest in the last 100 years? Or would you rather take the tax risk off the table and build tax-free wealth? I prefer to build tax-free wealth. These vehicles have been sold as a retirement savings vehicle, but savings means you're putting money away in a low-risk, liquid account that you have access to when you need it. By definition, you cannot save for retirement with a 401k. You can only put money into a 401k. This money is not easily accessible. It can be lost, and it is not a low-risk account. The reality is there are a lot of unknowns with your 401k and your IRA, and this creates a lot of risks. How can you create a secure retirement with all of these unknowns? You don't know anything about the investments. You don't know about the fees. You don't know how much you'll owe in taxes. When there are so many unknowns, it's not investing. It's gambling or speculation. And your money sits inside of a 30-year bet when better opportunities could be passing you by. Now, I mentioned the fee. With a 1% a year fee over a 30-year time period, 30% of your wealth goes to Wall Street. I'm not saying fees are always bad, but if you're paying fees, they need to provide a benefit. What benefit do these fees provide? They don't provide security. They don't provide protection from taxes. They don't provide protection from market losses. They don't provide long-term care, critical care, or other terminal illness. And these accounts punish you if you need the money because you have to pay a 10% penalty at a period in which you need the money and you can't afford to pay that. But there is another financial vehicle that provides you with all these benefits. You never lose value, and there are no penalties for using your money. If these accounts are so bad, why do so many people use it? It's because we've been trained to think they are a great financial vehicle. We get sold on this idea that an employee match is free money and it's a great gift from the employer. It's not free money. And even with the employee match, you're in a losing battle. Now, I've talked about some of the concepts. I want to show you the numbers and show you how these accounts destroy your wealth. And I'm going to paint the 401k in the best light possible. Let's look at a 35-year-old. He's got $100,000 current assets and he's earning 8% a year. And we're going to pretend that this 401k never, ever loses one single penny of value. Now, I'm choosing 8% because most 401ks average 5 to 8%. Most that I look at average 3 to 6%. And if you've seen my video on average rate of returns, then you'll know that the average rate of return has no bearing upon how much money you'll actually get to keep. All it does is tricks you into thinking that you'll have more money than what you're actually going to have. So that $100,000 at 8%, this would grow to almost $1.1 million. Now that looks great. Why would you ever need to do anything else? It's only about $64,000 a year before taxes in today's dollars, in today's low tax rate. And the dollar loses about 50 to 60% of its value every 20 years. So in 20 years, this is likely to be closer to $20,000 to $25,000 a year. And then over 20 years of retirement, it's going to lose another 50%. Now, in this example, I'm putting in $19,000 a year. When I do that, we see a total of $3.6 million. Now, I frequently ask about the employer match. I'm often told it's free money. It is not free money. Do you seriously believe that your company is just gifting you money for free? It's quite straightforward. Companies that do not match 401k contributions can pay greater wages and give you more control of your money. And according to a study conducted by the Center of Retirement Research using tax data, for every dollar an employer on average contributes to a 401k match, they pay 99 cents less in salary. The employer match is nothing more than a redistribution of your compensation package. Now, many people don't quite understand their vesting schedule, but many employers actually delay the 401k matching for the first year of employment, or they spread it out over 4 to 6 years. And the reason they do this is because on average, the duration of employment is only 4 to 4.5 years. And by delaying this matching, they end up not having to pay this money if you quit your job prematurely. But what does the company match actually look like? So we hear 50% match up to 6% of an employee's pay. What does that actually mean? If you're making $100,000 a year, 6% of your salary for $6,000 is eligible for a match, and your employer is matching 50% of that. So at most, they're putting in $3,000. So in our scenario, our employer adds an additional $269,000 of value, and that bumps the rate of return from 8% to 8.25%. But wait a second, you've been taught that you're getting a 50% rate of return on your money. So why doesn't the rate of return go from 8% to 12%? Why did it only go up 0.25%? The problem is it's only on a portion of your money. And the more money you put into it, the less impact those matched dollars actually have on your account. So now at 8.25%, the account grows to over $3.8 million. So the employer match put in over $269,000 of value, but the account only grew by less than $200,000. So what happened to all that money? It got ate up by fees. Okay, so great. It's still $200,000, and that's before taxes, and your money's locked up. Free money doesn't do anything when you lose it, except cause you a tax burden in retirement. Now, we're told to defer taxes and kick the tax can down the road to a time when our taxes will be lower. Unfortunately, most people are actually at a higher tax bracket in retirement. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be in a lower tax bracket when I retire. That means I don't have income. It also means that my investments probably didn't do very well throughout my lifetime. What I do want to do is I want my money in accounts that take the tax risk off the table. And what we're told is we get to make money on the federal government's money by deferring taxes. So let's look at that. In our scenario, our individual is in the 25% tax bracket. So they're getting the highest deferral they can. But when we look at the tax deferral, we see that $860,000 in our account is attributed to the tax deferral. Basically, that's the money that we make on the federal government's money, and it's an IOU to the IRS. So that moves our rate of return to 9.5%. Now, this is about as far as anyone thinks about their plan. What hasn't been talked about is the reality of what goes on behind the scenes. First, let's look at the fees. Now, the fees inside of your plan can range anywhere from 1 to 5% total. I typically see 1 to 3%, but let's give this plan the benefit of the doubt and say there's only 2% in fees a year. Now, many people will make the argument that they have low fees inside their retirement plan. This could be true, but what they're not accounting for is a fee that the plan itself is actually charging you. And in this example, we paid out over $603,000 in fees. And at 2% fees, the rate of return went down from 9.49% to 7.4%. So the reality is 2% in fees took away all that free money you got from the employer, plus all the money we got from the government, plus more. Without the fees, the account value is over $3.8 million in assets. And with the fees, the account is down to $2.3 million. So this account lost almost $1.45 million in future assets by paying $603,000 in fees. How is that possible? The fees come out along the way, and as soon as the fees come out, it reduces the value of the account, and that money quits earning for the rest of your life. Here, $600,000 in fees took away $1.45 million in future assets. Don't forget about the taxes. Unfortunately, the government got us to believe that reducing our taxes today would be advantageous for us. Now, if we look at the taxes in the future, in this example, well, $828,000 in taxes. Now, this assumes liquidating the account at age 65, which isn't going to happen because it would not make sense for most people. That $828,000 we pay in taxes gives us an account a rate of return of 5.6 if it never loses money, if it does 8% a year for 30 years. Now, that's pretty serious. But how many times have you ever seen a 401k never lose value? Now, a lot of people say, I use a Roth. If it's a 401k, you still have fees, you still have market losses, you still don't have control. And if it's an IRA, you can't put enough money into them to put a dent into your retirement. Now, I want to talk about something else we don't think about. Of the $100,000 in the account, $75,000 is the account holders. The other $25,000 is the deferred taxes that would have gone to the federal government, but instead were put into the qualified plan. Let's break this down. For every $19,000 put into the plan, the government missed out on 25% of that in taxes, correct? So what this means, for every year, the federal government missed out on $4,750. So they missed out on a total of $142,000. Now we're supposed to earn money on the government's money, correct? So we deferred $167,000 total, and yet the government ends up collecting $828,000. So my question is, who earns more money on the federal government's money? Now the government can't directly invest in the stock market, but what they do is they invested it through you as an intermediary. What do you think their rate of return on this? They gave up $4,750 a year for 30 years to get $828,747. They got almost 8% return out of it. Your annual rate of return is around 4%. They take in more profit from your retirement plan than you do. Now, what if you only make 8%? What if you only make 6%? At a 6% earning rate, the rate of return goes down to 3.69%. And like I mentioned earlier, most 401k plans that I look at are making 3 to 6%. Now, what happens if you need this money? What if there's a deal of a lifetime? Or what if you lose a job? This money is locked up. Now, if you're in a position of cash, opportunity will find you. But what happens if your cash is inside of a qualified plan? You cannot take advantage of opportunities. Now, supposedly, this gets better if we stretch it out. So let's take a look at that. Let's stretch this out. So we're showing taking a lump sum distribution, which is probably not what someone will do, although it does make a lot of sense, a lot of situations. Now let's stretch the distribution out to age 90, and we'll withdraw an equal amount each year. So it moves from 3.69% to 3.81%. Really didn't make much difference. The taxes went from $547,000 to $780,000, and the fees doubled. We had to wait on the money, and we had to risk more money to fees, taxes, and market loss. Now, assuming taxes don't increase during this time period, we are assuming we never lose any money. Now, what do you think taxes are going to do? Do you think they're going to go down? Why should you be deferring taxes from a period of low taxes to a time period in which we believe taxes are going up? Now, I want to qualify for the highest tax brackets, and we do this by holding money inside tax-free accounts. Planning to be in a lower tax bracket does not sound like a good plan. That's insinuating you'll run out of money, which is one of the biggest fears retirees have. If you are trapped in an elevator with an affluent person and ask them how they amassed their wealth, they're not going to tell you they did so by contributing a modest portion of their income to 401k, letting someone else manage it and not touching it until retirement. Wealthy individuals adopt a distinct path and invest in income-generating investments over the course of their lives. You don't amass wealth by locking up your money. You amass wealth by increasing your income, investing in income-producing assets, and safeguarding as much money as you possibly can. Now, it's been pounded into your head that we need to put money in a 401k or an IRA or you won't have a secure retirement. This is nonsense. What security do these financial vehicles provide? They don't provide protection from tax increases. They don't provide protection from market losses. Why do you want this much uncertainty and unpredictability in retirement? Why do you want your retirement dictated by what the stock market and what taxes? It doesn't have to be this way. It's essential to understand business and tax laws in order to minimize your tax liability and increase your wealth. As Tony Robinson so intelligently puts it, success leaves clues. By this, he means that you should emulate the individuals you aspire to be. If you aspire to be financially independent, you would do well to observe how affluent people behave and adopt a similar strategy to achieve financial independence for yourself. I invite you to reach out and learn more about how you can generate guaranteed tax-free use of your money.